Well, who do we got today?
Today on the podcast, we got Bryant McFadden.
Hey, Bryant McFadden, but there was our nephew, Will. Bryant McFadden, he was pretty close. Longtime NFL player. We wanted to do a draft-centric, an NFL draft-centric podcast today with the NFL draft just a few days away. We didn't just talk logistics and X's and O's. It was more about the biz side of it. You know, what went on with his draft process. He was a second-round pick in 2005. So, like, what was going on with him behind the scenes? He's also been doing a great job of communicating and doing Instagram Lives with current 2020 draftee guys, and that's actually where I came across him.
We talked to athletes, branding with athletes. We talked about how things are different this year with the draft, with no one was able to travel. So what are the GMs doing? What are the coaches doing? What are the athletes doing to try and get in front of these guys?
Overall, we talk a lot about the business side, the logistics, and I'm pumped now for the NFL draft in just a few days. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoy. When you do the CBS drops, I assume they have a different type setup because those are quality pictures. It's not the regular Zoom stuff, or what are you doing with that?
Yeah, usually anytime I do anything CBS related, because of, the restrictions and when they traveling like I used to, I have a home setup and I just kind of do things from the basement in my home. And, usually my normal routine will require me to do a lot of traveling, especially during the season. But now, I just utilize the home setup as much as possible. Usually I'm doing it daily because, we're trying to provide a lot of content, especially with, the current, situation that we're all going through, trying to provide as much content as possible.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking, we've talked with in the last handful of podcasts, a boxer, someone who does hosting and does softball stuff. And like we've been all, and we've talked to a gazillion other people about from different areas of walks of life. It's such an opportunity right now to become a content leader. And that, like I said, right before we jump down here, is why I liked you, is because you've been doing a bunch of Instagram lives with prospective 2020 draftees. And that's where I think Jalen Johnson, that's the one where I really saw you, which was just the other day. Last week, I think I came across that, and I was like, "Oh, this dude's doing some really cool shit." As I went back and looked at a bunch of your page and a bunch of your conversations on your page.
Yeah. A few weeks ago, I kind of thought about, how could I be creative and also entertaining as well. And outside of doing my normal, hits with CBS, I thought about just trying to personally tap into some of the professional athletes. So I did, my first one was with Patrick Peterson, who plays for the Arizona Cardinals. And then after doing it with Patrick, kind of got some, good reviews about it because it was just
that was great
out of nowhere. Yeah. But then I'm like, well, the draft is a few weeks away. I think it would be entertaining to kind of, do some one-on-ones, some of the potential draft prospects that will be available that will have their name called at some point in time throughout the weekend. So then I tapped in and I think it was I did CD Lamb, and then after CD Xavier McKinney, and then I just did Jalen, and then I have
all
scheduled
probable
tomorrow.
first round picks.
Yeah, I have Noah Igbenegbu. I don't know if I said his last name the right way, but I'm working on it. But I have Noah. I have Noah scheduled tomorrow, the talented corner from Auburn, who could potentially be a first round selection, no worse than second. So just leading up to the draft, just kind of giving appetizers until we get the main course, which will be this upcoming Thursday.
Yeah. Wow.
Does CBS, when you started doing this stuff, does CBS come to you and say, "Hey, come with us with ideas or whatever you got," or were they just kind of sitting back waiting for you guys to kind of pitch them and say, "Hey, I want to lead the way on this stuff"?
Well, the Instagram Live was kind of my ideal. I would just like we all are. You got a lot of time being at home, and I was just thinking about, if I was a fan, what would I want to see? Outside of what most media outlets are doing, like what would I want to see? And I thought about, what about personal kind of conversational interviews with your favorite player, or maybe you're a fan of his team or a fan of an opposing team. But I think that would be entertaining. So I kind of thought about it, and I did the first one with Pat P. And then, CBS was like, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. And I think right now would be it's fitting because of the current situation. So it was something I was just brainstorming on, just like I usually do sometimes, just thinking about ways of being creative and improving, but also too informative and entertaining, and just thought about it, and it's been doing fairly well.
Yeah, like I said, I thought that was really cool. It was, and I just saw the thing you posted. I didn't see the full Patrick Peterson convo, but I just saw the little cut. And it was like just different talk. I think when we talk, like I said, I mentioned before this, we work with a lot of athletes from a branding, marketing, and video perspective. And a lot of the content for athletes right now is pretty much the same. If you look at 99.9% athletes' pages, current athletes, it's picture of them working out or picture or video, picture of them working out or picture or video working at, in their uniform, and then shot of them stunting in whatever their thing is it a car, shoes, whatever, and then picture with the family, rinse, repeat. It's like the same old, same old. So when you pull out like a Patrick Peterson, you have just a different conversation. That's stuff that you as a player, or former player, you see that shit all the time. You have those conversations all the time. But we as the public don't see that very often from guys. And I think that's such an opportunity for them to be able to showcase, like, here's what I'm actually like. Like this is, and I know Patrick's different where he does a pretty good job, but most people don't.
Yeah, and I think that was, very, very important for me. Let's talk about things that a lot of fans don't know about. When it came to Patrick, he's a golfer. He's a guy, he believes he potentially could go professional when he's done. He also loves collecting, automobiles, like classic cars. And then, with CD Lamb, I asked him, what would be the first big purchase? And he said, well, I plan on buying my mom a house. And at the time, she didn't know about the house, but she was actually watching Instagram Live. And, she kind of found out about it then. And then Xavier, Xavier's a very, very creative drawer. His drawing skills are very, very nice. I mean, they're very, very exclusive what he can do with a pen or a pencil. And he also informed me, along with people that was watching, that the majority of his tattoos he do himself. So he would draw it and take it to a tattoo artist, and they would put it on his body. I mean, I thought that was creative. And then with Jalen, found out about, he just had a baby in November, and how that kind of changed his outlook on things. And a lot of fans don't get a chance to hear that side of some of their favorite athletes. And I think being able to do that in the Instagram Live opportunities that I've had, along with tapping in with football, I think it's very, very, it's entertaining. You get a chance to learn more about your favorite baller. Yeah.
That's what we try to do. We're not having the conversation with the athletes like you would be. We're trying to get them to showcase the personality, whatever that may be, through like a YouTube channel or vlog style, or a guy I always talk about is Juju Smith-Schuster is the best in the game right now at branding. Of course there's other bigger, well-known people, but from a branding bottom up, he shows personality. He's fun. He's funny. And you see what he's like, or at least what he wants you to think he's like. You see that frequently through his social media channels, and he's monetizing it. Like, he's making really good money not playing football,
which is good. I mean, a lot of professional athletes have an opportunity to brand outside of what they're doing. It's just about being creative and embracing that. You know what I mean? I think a guy like Juju mentioned, you can tell he loves being in front of the camera. He loves being on social media. And because of that, he's a marketable guy. Some players don't see it as such, or they just don't, want to take the time to be able to create that avenue of, a financial gain, because it's there, it's available.
100% it's available. Yeah.
Way more than like when we were back coming out of college too. They have a lot more means to it. Yeah.
Yeah. You had your play money, you had sponsorship, bigger deals, local stuff too, and that was it. There was no social media when you drafted in 05.
There was no social media at the time I got drafted.
Yeah.
Well, they had the Facebook had come out.
Facebook.
but was it
not
MySpace?
like this.
I think it could have been
MySpace.
Still out. MySpace. Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm a year younger than you. So I graduated 06 in college, and I would have had the Facebook, and only college kids could get on. I think came out my junior year, so right around then. Yeah. But it wasn't like this, of course. But let's go back to that talking draft stuff. So you're a second round pick in 2005. did you have a pretty good idea of some teams you might go to? Like, what was that process like from a behind the scenes type perspective?
It was exciting. Just to be able to get to that level of knowing you're going to get drafted was a big time blessing. Like most players, you think you're going to get drafted higher than where you may go.
Yeah.
I tell people this all the time. You might have 3 or 4 guys in the entire draft that actually they're happy with where they went. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Outside of those guys, you got other guys that feel like I should have been a top 4 pick, or they were top 10. I should have been a top 5 pick, or something like that. You know what I mean? So a lot of people, when they get drafted, they feel like I should have got drafted higher than what I did. And for me, I thought, I would be, maybe a late first round selection. That didn't happen, so I ended up going in the second round. So to talk about that process, it was just it was a dream come true. It was a surreal moment for me because that's all I ever wanted to do. Pittsburgh, though, I didn't think. The thing about Pittsburgh was some of the teams that I met with, guys, Pittsburgh was not a team I met with. I didn't talk to Pittsburgh one time outside of the combine. Like I met with them at the combine. I didn't take a personal visit there. I didn't have really any in-depth conversations with them throughout the draft process. So I knew they were high on me because I had a former teammate that I played with in college at Florida State that was currently on the team. So he was always informing me about, they're asking about you. But personally, they didn't contact me or my agent. So I thought, they just liked me, but I wasn't going to be a selection for them. The team that I actually thought I was going to go to was the Atlanta Falcons. And the reason why I say that is because that Friday before the draft, which was on Saturday at that time, I had a phone meeting with, I think it was the GM and the owner. And they told me that, they're high on me. They think I can be a pretty good player for them. And if there's an opportunity to draft me, then they're probably going to take a chance. So I was like, wow, Atlanta, the Falcons, Michael Vick, Atlanta's a pretty good competitive team. Watching the draft, it didn't happen. The first round selection, they took Roddy White, and he had a great career for the Falcons. I think the second round selection, they took Jonathan Babineau, who also had a real good, career for the Falcons. And I was just like, oh, they just told me. Like, they just told me. So
where were they at in the second round? Were they before
Atlanta,
Pittsburgh?
Yes, they were before Pittsburgh.
Okay.
They were before Pittsburgh. So they went defensive line. There were other teams that I thought, may roll the dice on me. I remember the Colts took 2 corners. They took Marlon Jackson and Kelvin Hayden, who, played well for the Colts organization. I remember the Raiders took 2 corners. They took Fabian Washington and Stanford Rout in the second round. So, I kind of remember all the names that were going before me, but, Pittsburgh ended up, selecting me. And, real quick, when Pittsburgh drafted me, I was mad. I was mad because I thought I should have got drafted higher. And then I was like, okay, I didn't go where I wanted to go when it came to draft spots. But then I'm going to Pittsburgh. Like, Pittsburgh is not the place you just go visit. You feel me?
Right.
Yeah.
You think of all the major
We're from
cities
Cleveland, so we get that.
Yeah, like nobody's just going to visit Cleveland unless you got some business there or something personal to see. You just don't say I'm going to visit Cleveland. You just don't say I'm going to visit Pittsburgh, right? Unless you may be going to steal a game. You might be a fan. But outside of that, that's not an ideal destination you just want to go visit. And I'm like, man, I'm going to Pittsburgh. Man, it's gloomy, it's cold. And I remember my high school coach told me at the time, Keith Franklin, he was like, man, listen, don't worry about that. You're going to an outstanding organization that will always be in the playoffs, which made sense. But at the time, I wouldn't hear none of that. I'm like, man, I don't care nothing about no playoffs, man. I wanted to get drafted higher so I can get more money and go to a nice spot. But it all worked out for me. Everything worked out how it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's funny.
How often are you like talking or communicating or your agent talking with GMs throughout like the week of, 2 weeks of leading up to it?
It's very, very busy. The agents are very, very, very busy. I think the agents, it picks up at the combine, and then after the combine, you have your pro day, and then that week leading up to the draft, your agents are trying to find some insight. Granted, they don't want to tell you too much because you don't want to get your hopes up. See, that's what happened with me. My hopes were extremely high with the Falcons because they just talked to me on Friday. And when you get your hopes up and things don't happen like you thought they would, you become disappointed. And I was disappointed. So the agents, they try to be as informative as possible, but they don't want you to get your hopes up, because if something doesn't happen like like you thought it would happen, now you looking at your agent sideways, like, yo, you told me, they were going to take me. And now you're going into your professional career not really trusting, things that your agents are telling you. But you got to be busy. You got to be working your phones and, working these Skype interviews like we're doing now to kind of figure out, where your client may go.
Who is that? Maybe it was actually your convo with Jalen. I was listening to somebody who's going to be drafted this year, and they were talking about all these Skype, Zoom convos they're having with current GMs, and they were saying it was kind of hard because there was more than one guy on the call, and one guy had bad reception, and then you were waiting on another person to come in, and you don't even think about all that, how different it is now, or this year specifically, than any other past years, because there's so many logistics that have to go into all this.
Yeah, and not just about the draft process, but think about the actual draft. What if there's a bad connection with some of these teams that are going to be doing their draft from their living room or their basement or wherever. You know what I mean? So, you're on the clock, right? So you got to make sure your connection is good. So we all got to be on the same page if we all are part of an organization about, okay, this is the guy. Like, this player is available we didn't think would be available. What's the chances of us going to select player A compared to player B, who we did our homework on? You know what I mean? So it's going to be really interesting to see exactly how this draft actually pans out. You know what I mean? And I think it's going to be entertaining as well. You know what I mean?
I think so too. I think a lot of people have been creative doing like the concerts from their houses, like stuff like that. I think could change the way entertainment is moving forward. With you have a concert from your house where they don't have to leave, but they can still get paid, or like there's things that are going to shift because of this, but and a lot for the better.
Yeah, because you were forced to become creative.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're forced to do things, that's when the best results happen.
Yeah. I've as we talk, for us, it's all about branding, marketing, who can be different and creative. And so I was like excited for the WNBA draft a couple of days ago, Friday. I've never watched the WNBA draft. I've never been to a game. I'm not a big WNBA person from that perspective. Like, I'm not knee deep in it. But I was like, I want to see what people are doing. Like, how are they going to be different? It's kind of like a dry run before the NFL, which is 7 rounds and 3 days and blah, blah, blah. It's much, much longer, much bigger. But I didn't see a ton of creativity. I thought the WNBA they did the Kobe tributes, which was obviously nice and great. And then Kobe and all the little girls. And the WNBA did like an orange carpet. So they had all the ladies send in their outfits and they looked nice and they made it look cool. But from a creative perspective, I didn't see a whole lot. And I'm hoping the NFL draft will be a little bit bigger, different, and they'll do a better job with that.
That's the thing. I think it will probably be more creative because you have so many national media outlets covering it, right?
Well, and I don't even mean from the national. I mean like individual. Like Bryant's getting drafted. He's at his home in Hollywood, California, or Florida, or in California. Like, what are you doing? Like, what's your situation? Are you doing some red carpet event with your little sister and mom and like those kind of things?
So I didn't see the WNBA draft, but did you actually see the teams that were drafting the prospects? Did you see them, or you only saw the prospects?
I didn't see any of the team stuff if they showed it. I missed the first 30 minutes. We were doing a podcast ourselves actually with somebody else. So I missed the beginning of it, but I saw a lot of the highlights and stuff. So what they would do, they would go to the person who got drafted and they would talk to them and whatnot. So I didn't see the team logistics, that part of it. Obviously I saw the teams posting on social after it, what happened. And that, it's different. The creative, different than the actual playing side of the team. But,
See, I think that's where the NFL is going to really catch a lot of eyes, because now, let's say an example, let's say the Cowboys are up to make their selection. Now you get a chance to see Jerry Jones, in his home, talking with, Stephen Jones and talking with, maybe McCarthy. Now these guys are all having their conversations and we get a chance to see that. So we really get a chance to see exactly how it goes down in the war room during a normal draft routine, right? But we're seeing these guys do it through Zoom or whatever, services they're going to use. And I think that's going to be cool. So now you get a chance to hear, like how, let's say we were all part of an organization, right? Tim, you the head coach, Pat, you the GM, and I'm the head scout. We got to all talk. But while we're all talking about who we're thinking about going with, millions of people are watching us from their home, from TV, right? So now we got to be like, Tim, who you like? Well, I like this player, or I think this could be a guy. Pat, who you like? You know what I mean? So I think that's going to be so eye-catching because we don't usually get a chance to hear that in-depth information from teams.
Or you see a whole squad get pissed because somebody got taken off their board before that or something. That's gonna be cool seeing those reactions. I agree.
It'll be I would imagine it'll be the most watched draft ever because we're all sitting on our asses at home. We're talking about it. We're watching it. There's no other sports that are on.
And I've said this a few weeks ago when the NFL said they would not delay the draft. Yes, it's a very, very trying time for everybody. But usually when they have the draft, they have to share the spotlight with the NBA, who usually are in playoffs, which is a very, very important time of the year for the NBA. Major League Baseball is just starting to really circulate and get things going. So you always shared that spotlight. Now, no NBA, no Major League Baseball, of course, no hockey. There's no other sport. So, and we've been seeing so many different reruns on TV and Netflix things like that. It's like, let's finally get something that's close to watching sports. And the draft is the closest thing that we have to watching current sports.
Yeah. Have you heard of anything? So I heard the NBA or NBA, NFL is going to send out like a sponsorship package basically to these athletes because they don't want any other sponsored or sponsors to be shown. So it's like for example, Pepsi's a big sponsor. So they're sending like in the kit, it's going to have like Fritos, Doritos, Gatorade, Pepsi products that the athletes can have in their video shots. But they can't possibly do that for everybody. Have you heard of any other restrictions or like what athletes might potentially be doing from a brand deal type of thing within the broadcast?
I mean, I haven't heard any other restrictions. I think for players that might not receive the brands from the NFL, let's say if they have a personal relationship with a particular brand, I think they would definitely get it cleared up. Like, if I'm a Nike guy, or from, let's say I got to deal with Walmart. Walmart is sending me a whole bunch of stuff to have in my home to be able to be seen in the shot with me. I think they would get it cleared up with the NFL.
Why?
Yeah.
I wonder why they would have to though.
I saw a penalty, so I don't remember exactly what it is. Call it like up to $50K or something. But like, listen, Walmart will cover that fee if it's, you know what I mean. Like, they'll more than
depending on the dude.
Yeah.
But like, you're in my house. I can't have my Walmart and my, coffee brand, RCD coffee things right here.
When it comes to NFL and marketing, that's why they're one of the more, dominating, leagues. Out. They capitalize on every opportunity. So I'm pretty sure just the communication would be at an all-time high when it comes to certain things like this because it's different. I mean? This is the first time ever this draft will be like it will be next Thursday.
Yeah. So, and this is interesting too. There's two people I wanted to ask you about. One is, I talked to Laviska Shenault Jr. A decent amount. So he's a guy who had an injury last year, had an injury 2 years ago, actually, missed a couple games, and then went to the combine, hurt his core, and had surgery, looks to be 100% now, but wasn't able to travel and do anything. So like how think about how much that affects his draft status. It's so much so where it's up in the air, like, okay. And for him, he could be a mid first rounder to a second day guy. And that's lots and lots of money when he changed there. And then my second person I was thinking about was Cam Newton, where coming off an injury and he can't go to these teams. I'd imagine when Thursday when the draft happens, Cam's value goes down because those guys already picked the quarterback they want.
Yeah, to answer your first question about Laviska, talented player. I think he still potentially could go in the first round. It depends on what happens with these wide receivers. It's a very deep wide receiver class. So, a lot of teams might feel like they can get quality from that position in the second round. I just saw that he was actually cleared. He's almost back to being 100%. And I think getting that information out right now is huge for him. You know what I mean? For teams that definitely would love to consider picking him, but also too, it would be ideal for him to be able to be seen in person by these teams.
Yeah.
So that is the situation with a lot of injured like players not being able to travel like they would normally do to have these personal meetings with these teams where their personal doctors can see and examine them. And that kind of ties to the second player in Cam Newton. And because of the uncertainty with Cam, I think Cam's going to have to wait until after the draft to see exactly who fulfilled their quarterback needs and who still need to address their quarterback room. Right now, you look at some teams that need quarterback help, the Chargers, of course, the Dolphins, the Jaguars, the Patriots, but there are only a few potential starting like jobs available. Yeah. So it would be very, very difficult for a team to not personally see Cam, because the last time we all saw Cam, he's getting caught off the football field, to give him a starting like opportunity when I haven't seen you. You know what I mean? And I think that is very, very difficult for him, because any other year, I think if Cam was available as a free agent where he can go work out for these teams and these doctors can examine him, he probably would already been signed by now. But if I don't know you're healthy, if I don't know you're healthy, I think most teams will prefer to go with the known, which is a more healthier guy than to bring you in, give you real nice quarterback money, and you're not healthy. And then when I find out you're not healthy, too late. The ink has already dried on the paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and so Laviska, I told you we've been talking. I helped him mash together his workouts. So the video he could put together and send out to teams. So I see what he's doing, and I see he looks great. He looks like he's 100%. But I also understand that's a video, and I'm not sitting there. I'm not having you doing the specific things I want to see and do as a GM or a coach or a scout. So it's like, how much can they rely on that for the moving forward? And like you said, he could still be a first-round guy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Videos are one thing, but seeing you in person is different. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's almost the best example I can give people who've never been in this situation when it comes to athletes getting drafted and the decision makers, making that move to draft someone. When you're trying to purchase an automobile, you feel more comfortable seeing the automobile in person. Like nowadays, you can kind of pick out a car online and see it online, but you feel better when you actually see that car and you drive that car. You know what I mean? You get a chance to sit in the car, because pictures are one thing, videos are one thing, but actually seeing it in person, it makes you either feel more confident and comfortable in making that investment, or actually seeing and knowing, nah, that's not the car for me. Mm-hmm. It's the same. It's kind of the same thing, because on the video, you're going to show me looking your best. What professional player that has an opportunity to send out a workout is not going to send out the best workout available, right? Yeah. But when I see you in person, now I can see you moving when the camera's not on you. I can see you how you orchestrating the entire drills. If you're a quarterback, I can see you going through your progressions, moving around. And now I can potentially add some of my personal drills to have you do, to kind of see exactly if you're as healthy as they say you are. So It's the same thing. Like, I don't think there's an individual that would spend top dollar on a car and not actually see it in person. You know what I mean? Unless you actually know what this car brings to the table. You know what I mean? If you're familiar with that brand. But if it's a new brand, you never drove it before. If you've always been a BMW guy, you're thinking about going to get a Mercedes, you want to go drive that Mercedes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I purposely, when I made the video, I did not, it's all iPhone footage, vertical. Mm-hmm. It's not quality video, which I like. It wasn't, I didn't shoot any of it. He just did it. Him and his boys up in, he was in Boulder still.
Yep.
Where he played. And I didn't do anything fancy with it. All I did was mash it together. I even tried to keep in a couple not good looking shots, like in between. Not that he looked bad, but like where it didn't look quality. Like the camera's like moving off, where I would never put in a quality video.
Poor transition type stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to show like this isn't a produced thing as much as possible. This is raw and real.
And see,
but I also understand like how much you take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, and see, this is very, very important for teams. They got to study tape now. They got to really study tape, because I don't get a chance to see you at your personal pro day. I don't get a chance to see you at your individual workout. So the only thing that's going to make me confident and selecting you is your actual collegiate tape, right? And now you got to really dissect this tape and do your due diligence and reaching out to some of the coaches and the staff about this player off the football field. But now you got to really study tape. And I think that is the unique part about this. And it's hard, but it's fair because other players like LaVisca, Jalen, other guys who are coming off injuries, everybody who has an injury, they're going through the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. You can't go to a team can't come to you. So the only thing you can rely on is making sure your agent give the feedback that's available about your injury and your tape. That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody's going through the same situation. Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, he put out a video and we saw him look pretty healthy, but yet and still, he's going through the same situation. He has to rely on his tape and that video that he put out for teams to feel confident and making, that selection. That's the fair part because it's not like just one player has to do this. Every player is going through the same, situation with how uncomfortable this draft is. And it's hard. It is hard. I could imagine coming out now and having an injury like, man, I didn't get a chance to really give you guys a pro day, like to really show you how good I'm looking right now. But that's just the cards we are dealt with right now.
Yeah.
Has any other GMs or athletes done like lives? Like, here, I want you to basically do this live on my command type stuff. Have you seen anyone do that?
No. When it comes to social media, the only thing that I've seen players do, similar to what you guys are talking about, people releasing videos, workout videos. I haven't seen a player actually do a workout on live.
Yeah. You got to be pretty confident, though, at the same time.
Yeah, I was thinking about that might be intriguing to do. Like, like I'm doing a little 20-minute workout, show you guys how I'm looking, how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For any teams that want to join into my live, send questions about what they want to see me do.
Yeah.
I think that might be hot.
Well, if you're like a fringe, like you might get enough hype from that alone where people are like just blowing it up because everyone's watching stuff now anyways. And then more GMs see it, more, I don't know. It could help.
Well, you got to have a good connection, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that's we talked about this a couple weeks ago too. Is like, why not do that? Especially the Tuas, the LaViscas of the world. If you're good, if you feel good, why not do a live? Because it is, I recruited. I was a college football coach, Division II, Division III level, which is whatever. But I understand from that mindset when you're looking at scouting a player, it's not the highlight film you're looking at. That's a great thing, and some people are just so athletic you say fuck it. But you really want to see what's going on other times. In between that route they ran, are they for Tua? Is he holding his hip or is he limping after he throws a ball or those things that they don't want you to see? That's what you really want to see. A live shows it all. You can't. There's no hiding the things, at least as well. Like maybe you can not have a cringy face or not limp when you know it hurts. But a live puts it out there. It's like, hey, here's my thing. Why not do we're big UFC people and have done a lot of UFC branding. They do open workouts. Why not do an open workout through your IG live or your Twitter account or whatever?
You know what? I don't think that'd be a bad idea, honestly. Like I said, you got to make sure you're doing it outside, so you got to make sure your connection is good. And it's getting your point across. You know what I mean? That's the most important thing. If you're getting your point across, you want to make people feel like you're coming off an injury. I'm gonna do my 30-minute workout on live. You know what I mean? If y'all want to see me do certain drills, you want to see me move around a certain way, send me your questions. I'm only taking serious questions. And you might, who knows, what if you got a coach to jump into the live? You know what I mean? Send a question. That'd be crazy.
I mean, if you're a GM, from a GM perspective, if I'm picking this guy in the first round, I'm looking at everything he's posting. I'm on his Instagram stories.
Yeah.
I'm on his Instagram. What's he doing? Who's he hanging out with right now? If I'm thinking, shit, I don't know, Tim and Brian are pretty damn close. I don't know who I like more than the other. But I see Brian is out partying this weekend. That might be the thing for some people. I don't give a shit if you're partying all damn day. But that might be the thing for people to be like, Tim looks like he's really taking this serious, and Bryant has been out with his boys, and he's not social distancing. Does he really care about his body? And, like all the things. They're looking for reasons to think, maybe this person's better than that person. And they're trying to think they're the smartest damn people in the world too.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. But I think that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
It might be pretty hot.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Different. Like we said, creative. You can't have a workout in front of the GM you want to in Green Bay, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. You can't do it. So like, how can you get around that? I saw some other people running like 40 times and stuff. And one guy had like a 4.38, and it's like, I mean, it's not legit. Obviously you can't, they won't see it as legit, but you're moving, you're trying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not mad at that.
No doubt.
Yeah. So what will you be doing draft wise? Are you guys doing live coverage? Or will you be like, okay.
I haven't received the final say so on what the schedule would look like. But I would imagine, we'll definitely have some shows leading up to the draft. I think the draft starts at 8:00 Eastern, right? So,
okay.
Probably like 6 or 7 o'clock, you have some draft conversations. It's going to be a whole lot to talk about, about who goes where, trades, things like that. So I have another mock draft we're doing tomorrow. We've done pretty much mock drafts the last 4 or 5 weeks leading up to the actual draft. It's been entertaining. We've allowed trades to happen. I think we will see quite a few trades. The draft will really start with pick 2. That's when the draft is going to start, because
you don't think that's Chase Young for sure?
I mean, I think if I was to give you guys a percentage, I'll say at least 60% is Chase Young, but who knows? You don't know what the Redskins are thinking about, because it's kind of hard to get an insight on what teams have been doing, because we haven't had the opportunity of hearing which players have visited which teams. Usually you get an insight about, this player has been visiting this team, or this team has had a personal meeting with this player. And if you continue to hear that about a team and a particular player, now you kind of, okay, they high on this kid, right? Mm-hmm. This is the year where we don't know who's high on who, because we haven't heard the traveling with teams visiting certain players, or players going back and forth and having personal workouts with, the Washington Redskins. Like let's say this was a regular year, right? Let's say Washington actually seen Tua 4 times personally, mm-hmm. right? Now you like, okay, Washington might think about really taking Tua, mm-hmm. right? So if it was to happen, you're not as surprised, because you're like, well, dang, we heard they visited Tua 4 times lead up to the draft. So clearly they were high on him. We don't know now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think that's –
So well, as you said it, I'm thinking, well, wouldn't you, as a potential guy getting drafted, wouldn't you just leak that shit? Have your agent leak that? Like, hey, and even if it's not true, like, leak it to the media, because I want other GMs to think that these teams really want me. So you hear that the Redskins or the Eagles are super high on me. We've talked 3 Zoom calls or whatever the hell the thing is. I don't know what the numbers are. but why not leak it and have the hype go? So those teams are trading up for you. Obviously, the earlier you get drafted, the more money you make.
No, but as an agent, the professional thing to do, especially if it's confidential, is to keep your mouth closed. You know what I'm saying? Let's say a team say, you know what, we're really thinking about taking your guy, but keep this between us. We don't want to create any buzz about, what we're doing. Sure. Because if you say, and let's use this as an example, right? Let's say the Washington Redskins tell Tua Tagovailoa's agent, and this is an example. We're thinking about taking your guy, you know what I mean? But we don't want the word to get out, right? Word gets out somehow, and it had to come from one place, right? Remember, you got a young quarterback who already is on your team in Dwayne Haskins. Mm-hmm. Let's say with the 2nd overall selection, word gets out the Washington Redskins plan on taking Tua Tagovailoa, but then a trade happens. Someone trades with Washington, gave them a handsome ransom to move out of the 2nd overall selection, and you don't go get Tua, but you have to make that trade because it's better for your team. But now you relying back on Dwayne Haskins, who already knew you were trying to replace him.
Get out, yeah.
So now we didn't get Tua, but Dwayne, you're back our guy again. We know you heard about us trying to go get Tua. It's big example. Remember last year with Arizona, the Cardinals, leading up to the draft, what they kept saying, Josh Rosen is our guy, right? Mm-hmm. Josh Rosen is our guy. He's an Arizona Cardinal. We believe he's a talented player. We can win with him. They didn't come out and leak anything with Kyler Murray, because if you don't go get Kyler Murray, now you got to go back to the guy who you basically was trying to replace. You don't want to tarnish that relationship until you know for sure you're going to get the guy who you're looking to get.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get
Yeah,
that.
the games, man. The games are great
but-
now. That's a whole part of the
Yeah,
chess game.
and that's from my perspective. It's like I totally agree and get that, but I also think it's like depending on the type of player and position, does it hurt to say? And because I'm just thinking value for my one guy. Now I also understand almost every agent has multiple guys, and they're dealing with all 30 teams, or 32 teams. But to drive the interest, like, hey, you better go, you better get my guy. Maybe not even say specific teams, but just say I got 12 teams that have talked to him at least twice. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying that. If someone asks you during the interview, you ask, who have you talked to? Like, when I did the Instagram Live with CD, I asked him what teams have he had these virtual meetings with. He told me, you know what I mean? So now you kind of get a buzz about who he's been talking to and teams he had been talking to. Now it's up to you to kind of put two and two together. Like, shoot, he talked with the Jets, the 49ers, Raiders. All teams need a wide receiver, so he could be their guy. You know what I mean? Who knows? Or it could be another guy. Did
you have to go through their agents or you just DM them?
Some of the personal relationships that I have with CD and me and him, we actually knew a mutual friend that we all are extremely cool with. So I was able to reach out to him, and then some agents that I know as well that, really, trust me, making sure that, I'm not trying to do anything that's going to hurt their image. We're like cool with it. And then we also started to get, more people reach out to us about having their clients come on as well. Then when they started seeing some of the things that we've been doing. So it's been pretty cool. Everything has been, it's been a smooth ordeal with this being new. And all the guys that I've had on have really been excited about talking, about themselves and about the sport they play. It hasn't really been dull conversations where a kid seems like he doesn't want to be there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that's good for, people watching us to see two individuals that really enjoy interacting with each other, and it's all informative.
Yeah, and I think you have the unique perspective, unlike 90% of people who are interviewing or talking to these guys, that you've been through it, you've been in the league, you've been through the draft, like you understand all this stuff, and you understand from an athlete perspective. You're not trying to trick them up on some bullshit and get some clickbait. Like you're just trying to have a conversation with them.
Yeah, barbershop talk. That's what I call it. Let's talk about who you are when you're not catching touchdowns and tackling people. Let's see about, who you are, what are your interests are, things that you like doing outside of the norm. Like I said, I never knew Xavier drew basically all his tattoos, you know what I mean? And said he's going to add to the arsenal as well. So I think that's very, very insightful. And a lot of fans tend to forget that these players are more than players.
Yeah. Well, I think they tend to forget. And I also think a lot of players don't do a good job of reminding them that they're not just some entertainer on the thing. I saw, who was this? I copied his video. This was just a few minutes ago. That's why Lonnie Johnson. And he was a second round pick, I think 2 years ago from Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And he just created a video, and it was the beginning of it was, a lot of people don't know I was raised at my grandma's with 13 other kids sleeping on the ground. Like that was the beginning of the video.
Oh,
and it's like, well, you probably never, like people don't know that. Tell them that shit is super relatable to so many people, and it becomes really endearing. Like different than an athlete who's just balling. That stuff's cool too. But this, when it means something, and I can feel like, oh, like this dude, I was the same way. I lived the same. I lived with my grandma, and we had 8 kids there, and blah blah blah, like the same relatable stuff. I think really helps grow the brand from that too.
Yeah. I mean, people want to hear those types of stories. You know what I mean? Yeah. Seeing exactly when you're able to overcome that type of adversity, it can be motivation to someone who's watching you or listening to you. And I think we all should do better in sharing, certain testimonies that we have, being able to overcome that adversity. Like right now, what we're going through is one of the biggest adversities that we've ever seen. This is the first time the entire world is being affected by the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the biggest game ever, because now we all have to be a team.
Yeah. When you do those conversations, have you been putting them on you? Do you have a YouTube channel?
I don't have a YouTube channel, no.
Why not? Are you going to do those with those or no?
I mean, I never really thought about creating a YouTube channel. I know they're hot right now, especially for some people. I just never thought about it, honestly. I really
throw that
just
up there, put it on a podcast. Yeah.
Think about it, do it. Yeah.
One video, 3 different platforms.
I really just maybe a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I just really got more social media, savvy, being more involved in social media. So I'm still kind of behind the curve, but I don't know. I guess maybe you guys can help me with that, kind of
Definitely
fill me in about what I could do to do a YouTube, because, right now my job is to talk,
Well,
what I mean?
yeah. And we've worked with some people who that's their job, is they talk, and sometimes they play sports and talk. But that talk makes money too, obviously with CBS, but you can also make money, monetize that in other ways through the social. And you being, our age-ish, we didn't grow up with this shit. So
No.
if you look like a lot of people our age-ish who were even big names in 2010 or 12, if you look at their social media now, they don't have a damn clue how to do it. And, a lot of those guys have set themselves up well, and they don't need to worry about their branding long-term. But a lot of those guys could really benefit from having created a strong brand in the 2010s, 12s of the, 2010s and 12s type era. Excuse me if I don't die here.
Yeah, drink some water. I got another question for you,
Damn.
Brian. So obviously you've gone through draft years ago. You played in the league. Now you have a post league career. You know a lot more, but now social media is available. If you were going to be drafted this year, what would you do? Where would you be? Who would be there? Would you do anything creative? Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, I think if I was drafted under the circumstances that they will have, it'd probably be just a few family members. Clearly, you don't want to have a lot of people around. It won't look good. But you want to try to be as safe as possible. So at that time when I had my draft, I went back home, did it at my parents' house, and we had a lot of family and friends over. I think it would probably be the same setup, but less people. Probably my mom, my sister, my stepdad, and that's about it. It'd be just 4 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last question. We'll get you out of here on this. Did you do anything reckless once you got your money or you got drafted? Were you like, all right, I'm doing this wild thing?
No, I didn't do anything reckless.
No?
Before the draft, I had bought a car. I had already had a car. I bought it maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the draft. Wasn't nothing expensive. My car was like maybe $30,000. And then when I got drafted, I bought my mom a car. Her car was like around $30,000. But mine was like 38. Hers was like 30. So I did that. I didn't get my first house until after my second year. So during the off season of my first year, I stayed at home whenever I went back to Florida. Yeah.
There's not a lot of guys that do that. Tim's buddy played in the league for 9 years. 9
years.
And is like super resourceful. Like I don't think he lived at home, but bought reasonable cars, had a couple houses, but reasonable houses, like didn't do the wild out craziness like we'll see here in the next couple of weeks from some of these young guys.
Yeah. I mean, eventually as I got older, I did, different things. But to start off, I was very, very cautious in what I did and how I did it, because I didn't know, if there would be another opportunity outside of what I was seeing, especially, the life of an NFL player at that time. If you got to 3 years, that was a blessing. It was the average lifespan was 3 years playing in the National Football League. I don't know exactly what it is right now, but I know when I played, you get 3 years, man. You get 4 years, you're above the curve.
And you're set, right? Don't you get your pension at 4?
Yeah, 4 years. Yeah, 4 years, 3 games. I think it was. That's when you're vested. You get your pension.
Yeah, you got to get in there. That's the goal, right?
Yeah,
no question.
Well, cool, Brian. Timmy, anything else?
Nope. That's great, man.
Draft.
Appreciate it.
I can't wait for Thursday. I was going to say Friday. Thursday.
I can't wait for tonight, though. Actually, too, with the Jordan special going out
Jordan
here
doc?
in a few hours.
9 o'clock.
Or 2 hours.
Yeah,
I know. I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, it's almost my time. Well, shoot, for you guys to come on, 6 o'clock out on the West Coast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
6.
Yeah. So I'm definitely tuning in for that. I can't wait for that either.
I know.
Yep. All right. Appreciate it.
So-